Hey everyone, welcome to the Future Jobs podcast. I'm your host Fahad Jobswala, and today's guest is someone, um, you know, every young entrepreneur needs to hear from. Philip Masielo. He is the founder of multiple seven-figure companies, including CrunchGrowth, Revenue Acceleration, and author of the must-read book Think, Grow, Scale. Phil didn't just talk business, he built it brick by brick, from creating best selling products to how startups grow fast online. He knows what it really takes to win. Today, he is here to draw powerful lessons, real talk, and practical steps for building a business that lasts. If you're dreaming big and building from the ground up, this one's for you. So, hey Phil, how are you? And welcome to the podcast.
Good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
It's an honor to finally record this podcast with you. So Phil, could you tell us about your story?
Yeah, I founded my first business when I was 27 years old, and it was a complete disaster. wasn't good. I ran it for 3 years. Not one to give up, but enough was enough. It wasn't working, so I took a different route. I sold the business, and then I went to graduate school. Not because I thought I needed more education, but I needed to think differently. And I made an investment in another company down in Washington, D.C., that was in the retail business. And I joined that company and ran it. And we grew that business to 12 stores in D.C. And then we bought a couple of acquisitions. And then we exited. And I founded the Daily Market, which was a chain of stores in Washington, D.C. And then we built the first meal website selling meals online, similar to like what's happening with Blue Apron and all these guys today. And I we exited that to a supermarket chain. A supermarket chain bought us, and then we I founded Raw Essentials Skincare with a woman named Carol Alt. We launched that on the shopping channels, HSN in particular, and then the shopping channel in Canada and some others. And we grew that business. We were one of the first brands to be on the Amazon marketplace in 2006, outside of books, CDs, music, and DVDs when Bezos opened up the platform to other sellers. And we did quite well. It was a different Amazon was completely different back then, and we started growing. We were building that business pretty well. We were selling on our website, on Amazon. We were selling on the shopping channels. We were selling at Ulta Beauty, Sephora, Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada. So we were growing that business, and um, that was when I wrote my first book, and it was really about selling on Amazon. Um, and that wasn't good because Amazon was changing so rapidly that that book became almost obsolete about a year after I wrote it. So I never really updated it. But then we sold Raw Essentials after about 5 or 6 years of running it, and then I built a shaving brand, a shaving business, and we had the only American-made razor, and we were selling a lot of men's and women's skincare. But that market just got so hot because there were so many entrants in it that we wound up getting, people wanting to buy the company over and over, every day. And so we wound up selling. I thought it was premature, but we did it anyway because I had other investors in that business. And once we sold it, our partner in that business was Energizer, which owned Schick at the time. It's since spun off, and now it's called Edgewell. But they came to after we sold. They came to me and said, "Look, we don't know anything about direct to consumer. We need to understand how to sell to consumers. We sell to Amazon. We don't sell on Amazon. We don't have a website that's e-commerce driven. We need some help, not as a consultant, but somebody to actually do the work." So I put together a team, and that's how I launched CrunchGrowth. And that was about 12, 14 years ago. So, and since then, CrunchGrowth, we help. That's what we do. We help brands to scale.
It is wonderful. So Phil, your company's name is really unique, and I always try to ask the reason behind naming that, you know, the, that unique, giving that unique name to your company, because there's always something interesting behind that. There's always a story, business owners share. So what is your story behind naming your company?
Well, the whole name of the company is CrunchGrowth Revenue Acceleration Agency, and that's really what we focus on. We take your growth and we crunch it and make your revenue scale. So, growth uh, growth is something that everybody wants and everybody talks about, but sometimes people overcomplicate it. You know, they try and focus on too many things. And growth really comes down to having the right strategy and focusing in on what you're really trying to achieve. So we take all these different components and just crunch them down to the reality of what it takes to grow. And then we focus on that and grow. So that's how we came up with Crunch Growth, because we're trying to crunch down all these different pieces and get down to the heart of what's really going to make a business scale. And then we push it.
Wonderful. So I was watching one of your podcast episodes, which is the same name, Crunch Growth. So what inspired you to start your own podcast, and what is the reason behind that?
So the podcast is it's a TV show on E360 TV and a podcast. So it's called Crunching Your Growth. And what inspired me to do it was really entrepreneurs, because I also coach and mentor entrepreneurs. So I have a coaching business as well. And what I realized was there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of young entrepreneurs that get the wrong idea about starting up a business. They listen to some of these big guys that are on there that are well known, excuse me, and they hear the story and they think that it's going to be easy because they make it sound like it's going to be easy. And it's not easy, and it's never easy. And so what I do, and I've been doing it for 4 years, I have on real live entrepreneurs, people that have built their businesses, people that have scaled their businesses, some people that have failed in their businesses. And then we talk about what it took to get to where they were. And they talk about the good, the bad, the pitfalls, and even the funny parts of it. And people realize from that show that it's not so easy to grow a business. That there are things you have to do, and there are some underlying. If you listen to about 10 or 15 different shows, you'll hear the same underlying facts about how to grow a business. And it always comes down to finding your point of difference, finding what makes your business unique from everybody else, focusing in on that, and then using different tools to grow that business. We talk a lot about raising money, raising capital, and sometimes entrepreneurs go out too early. It's almost like they feel like it's a badge of honor, a badge of honor to go out and raise money from private equity when it could blow up in your face because you're not ready for it. So there's all these things we talk about on the show where from real live examples. I like doing it because I like to hear people's stories, and I also like to give uh, knowledge back, whatever I can, to help people in different ways. So we've got some really great episodes. We've got some really great entrepreneurs on there, some really well known brands, and yeah, that's it. It's designed to really give people a realistic view of what it's going to take to scale, and then um, hopefully they'll follow those patterns and go after it.
Exactly. I will definitely add the link to the channel in the description as well, and I have to watch the podcast, because Phil is right. We sometimes we watch some wrong influencers, so we get information, and that's why we are not growing. We are sort of stuck. So Phil, a lot of us are just starting out. What's one mindset shift that separates real entrepreneurs from the rest?
So When you're starting out, a lot of times entrepreneurs develop their product, whether that product is a physical product or a SaaS product or even a service product. They build their product in a vacuum, and they don't necessarily go out and test it and find out what the market thinks of their product. And so what happens is the difference between one that's successful and one that's not is paying attention to the market and paying attention to what the market's telling you about your product. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to pivot. You can't take criticism to heart. You have to take criticism as a learning tool. Sometimes you're going to fail. You might fail with a project. You might fail with a advertising. You might fail along the way, but you can't let that discourage you. If you believe in what you're doing, you have to keep going forward and make modifications and make changes. Now, certainly, I learned early on, like I said, my first business was a total disaster. I learned early on that sometimes you just have to stop because it's never going to work. But you want to try and find that out sooner rather than later. And the way to find that out is to make sure that you have a customer who's going to buy your product. That's the first step. And you can't go and build the perfect website and build the perfect product. Can't do it. You have to go out there with your minimum viable product, find somebody who is going to pay money for your product that sees value in it, get feedback from that group of customers, and make modifications and changes. And the reason you don't want to spend a lot of money on your website, your logo, your branding, you want to get the minimum out there because it's all going to change. I guarantee it. I have seen probably 1,000 startups in my life, and I have never seen one go according to plan. It never happens. So your website's going to change. So no reason to build the perfect website because you're going to learn as you go. Your product is going to change. You're going to make improvements. You're going to make adjustments. Your advertising is going to change. Your logo is going to change. Your colors are going to change. Your branding is going to change. And you look at any company that started out, go and look. Everybody throws Apple in my face when I talk about this. They go, "Oh, Apple." Go back and look at Apple in 1976, 1978, 1980, 1985, 1990. It's all different. The logo was different. The colors were different. The branding was different. The messaging was different. So, my point is you have to be very flexible. You have to be able to take criticism, build your minimum viable product, get out there, listen to what the customers say, but find somebody who's going to pay money for your product.
Exactly. So you've mentioned a lot of times that your first business didn't work well. So could you tell us what are the main lessons you have learned from your first business and have applied it in your right now in your career?
Yeah. So my first business failed. It was 100% on me. It was a failure of leadership and a failure of process management. I just didn't put in the right processes. I didn't make those processes transferable. I was a terrible leader of people. The business actually was the store, it was a retail store and it was doing quite well. The problem was in the backside of the business and the operations of the business. It was just a disaster. It wasn't, and I at that time I was a young entrepreneur, and in my head I felt like I had to have all the answers. I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the developer of the concept, therefore I have to have all the answers. And that's just a wrong way of looking at things. You can't have all the answers. And that I was closed. I wasn't taking um, I wasn't taking criticism well. I wasn't making adjustments. I was thinking, this is how it is. I developed this. This is the plan. This is what we're going to do. And so the things that I learned are exactly the things that I talk about today. And I still carry that forward with me to every business I do. And I've had a couple of other failures along the way. I got involved in some businesses I shouldn't have gotten involved with. I tried to get into the fashion business for a while, which because I thought we did so many things on the shopping channels, but we didn't know anything about fashion. I can barely dress myself, let alone somebody else. And I tried to get into the nutraceutical business and some other businesses. So, I still make mistakes. I've had some good successes, but I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I learned from them. But the first one was a big one, and that's uh, really the learning that I still carry with me today.
Exactly. Wonderful. The main thing is to just learn from the failures, and this is what we have to do. So, Phil, as a young entrepreneur, who was your mentor? A good mentor you have remembered.
Uh, Part of my problem when I first started out on my first business, I didn't have any good mentors. I didn't have anybody to help me because I think if I had a good mentor, they probably would have slapped me in the face and said, you're doing it wrong. I had good mentors afterwards when I got involved with another retail company that I made an investment in. I had a great mentor there and really kept me focused, took my entrepreneurial energy and focus and sort of drove that in different ways that allowed me to help use that energy to build the business. Um, and at the same time, taught me a lot about things like capital raising, allocation, return on investment, things like that. Um, I had a great mentor for a number of years that helped me out with a very famous one too, but helped me out with a couple of businesses and unfortunately passed away. But uh, he was really instrumental in keeping me focused and keeping me focused on what's important in business, not necessarily chasing the next bright, shiny thing, making sure that I'm making decisions that are going to drive the business forward, not necessarily just ego driven decisions or just because, something new comes out doesn't mean you have to jump on it. Let it get proven before you pick it up. So,
Exactly. This is a problem itself, what you have shared with us about your own journey that you didn't had a good mentor for a number of years. So many young people who wants to start, who wants to learn, they are just stuck because of they don't have someone who can guide them betterly. So, what would you recommend to them? They just keep searching for good people, or should they just start from YouTube?
the problem with YouTube that I see is there's a lot of uh, people that are disingenuous, people that call themselves entrepreneurs but have never really done anything, people that call themselves a coach, but how do you be a coach? Um, I take pride in the fact that I can coach people because I can coach people based on the learnings I have, based on the successes and the failures. I think that when you've never had those successes and failures, how do you coach somebody? So I think you could look at YouTube, but you have to be very careful about who you're talking to or who you're taking information from. Some of these guys are just disingenuous. They're trying to make a dollar off of a person and they don't really care. And I always think about this because I see it with Amazon selling and I see it with e-commerce. Like, oh, sign up for my program. I'll teach you how to sell on Amazon, and then you can buy the products from me, and I'll have you up and running in 6 months. Well, if that's true, why aren't you doing it? Because if I'm doing something on Amazon, I'm not giving it away to anybody else. I'm trying to make as much money as I can. So why am I going to sit there and tell you how I do it on Amazon if I'm totally successful? If I've built a huge brand, why do I want to tell you how to sell on Amazon? Right? I'm not going to give away all my secrets. It's impossible. Why would I want to do that? So you have to take things with a grain of salt. And I see people all the time get sucked into those, platforms, and these guys, they pay these people money and, oh, you could drop ship. I'll teach you how to drop ship and you could buy the products from me. Yeah, you could buy the products from them because they're making the money. You're not going to make any money on drop shipping. So I think you have to be very, very careful and you have to really look at who you're taking information from and who you're taking guidance from and what you're paying for.
Exactly. This is really important. Many young founders feel lost after failure. Can you share a personal story where failure taught you something success never could?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, my first business, it was a disaster, and it taught me a lot. Because I reflected back on it. When I reflected back on it, because I sold the business, and I was sort of in a funk. I was sort of depressed about it, and I went to graduate school, and I kept reflecting back on that business. And again, I didn't go to graduate school because I felt like I needed more education. I felt like I needed to change the way I was thinking, and there were some great professors there that really uh, pointed some things out, that not necessarily regarding my business, but business in general, that I didn't even realize. And when I went to, when I got involved in the retail company, that was really eye opening, because I saw all the mistakes I made. I could see it clearly. And I could see how not to do it. And I could see why I had problems. And so that enabled me to change my approach and how I did things. So I learned a tremendous amount from failing, and I still, like I said, I still carry that with me today. And that was, many years ago. So I I learned a lot I learned a lot from all my failures. I learned a lot from, I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about, what I should and should not focus on. I have a tendency of getting excited about a project. If I see something that I think has legs, I go, oh, this could be great. And I think sometimes, because we have a marketing agency, and because we know how to scale a brand and do things like that, that it can carry forward for anything I get involved in, and that's not necessarily true. I have to stick to my knitting, so to speak. Like, we do really good with consumer products. We do really good with certain categories of consumer products, but there are certain things. Like I said, fashion is very different. It's a very different business than consumer products. It's a very different business, and we got involved in it, but we didn't understand that business. We didn't understand what the motivating factors were for a customer to make a purchase, and therefore we didn't do so well. We I got involved with nutraceuticals, and that's not really something I believe in. A lot of it is hype and flex on your messaging that's not necessarily you know completely true. And so things like that, I shouldn't have got involved in, because I learn constantly. I learn every day. We've been using AI for 5 years, maybe longer. And I know everybody thinks that AI is like the greatest thing in the world. And it's a fantastic product, but you have to use it correctly. You have to understand what it is that you want to use it for, what it is that you want to get out of it. And you can't just go into it and say, well, I'm using AI, and so therefore everything's going to be rosy. It's not, if you don't use it right. So again, we learn every single day from what we're doing. And I make mistakes every day, and I learn from them every day, and I'm not shy about it. I'll tell everybody
Yeah,
exactly what mistakes I make. So
exactly. Because it is really important to learn and to have failures from in your life, and so it can help you to learn every day. So you've worked with hundreds of brands. What's one trait successful young founders always seems to have?
what's one thing successful young founders, say it again?
Seem to have.
Oh, they have drive. They believe in their idea. The most successful businesses are ones that fall out of a passion, right? Something that the entrepreneur sees that's a problem, that has to do with something they are doing. For example, we had a guy a young entrepreneur who was an athlete, and he was a runner, cyclist, and all this, and it kept getting injuries, which is common, right, for runners and cyclists and all. And the products that were out on the market that did all these hypes about, oh, you put this knee brace on, it's going to, it has copper inside and it's going to, fix your problem. He realized that that was all garbage, but he worked with a doctor and actually came up with a couple of products, one for ankles, one for knees, and one for back, that were common injuries that athletes got. And he saw that problem, and then he started moving forward with it, and he did really well. And then he got into other athletic wear, socks and shirts and things like that. So and I think one of the greatest entrepreneurial stories is Under Armour clothing, because when Kevin Plank started Under Armour, he he was a football player. He was an athlete, and back then you only had cotton shirts, and when you sweat with a cotton shirt, it actually holds you down because that sweat is being sucked into the cotton. And he realized that he needed something different, and he created Under Armour using spandex and some other fabrics to pull the sweat off that wouldn't soak into the fabric, and therefore it enabled him to do a better job. So um, yeah, I think that there's a number of stories out there, but it always comes out entrepreneurship. The best the best successes always come out from a passion that an entrepreneur has and what they're focused on. So I think he left. I think he lost his connection. So we'll give him a couple of minutes and see if he's still on and see where we're at. But I don't think he's still there. So, okie dokie. Well, it's been lovely talking to everybody. Anybody who wants to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me at crunchgrowth.com. You can get in touch with me at philmasielo.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can Google me. I'm very easy and very accessible to find. And I have a couple of books if you want to read them. They're on Amazon. So until next time, have a great day.
Okay, he has left. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to this podcast. I hope you like it. It was all about business, building a successful business, and all the questions were basically for young entrepreneurs to help them. So thank you so much, guys. Inshallah, meet you soon with another amazing podcast with another amazing guest. Till then,